Hello. I've spent the last few days talking about the 4 reminders or the 4 mind-turning reflections. And I've talked about the first 2, which, if you remember, is the preciousness of human birth and impermanence. So today I'm going to talk about the 3rd one, which is karma. And karma is a word that is very much mistaken. At its worst, it's simply seen as everything that happens to you is your fault. So it's very, sounds very punishing, doesn't it? And of course, karma really isn't like that at all. So first of all, just a few words from those translations that I gave yesterday on karma. There's not a lot in these versions on karma, but so one says, when his time has come, even a king has to die, and neither his family or friends nor his wealth or possessions can accompany him. Whether I stay or go, live or die, the karmic consequences of my actions will follow me as inseparably as a shadow. The karmic consequences of my actions will follow me as inseparably as a shadow. There's no escape, basically. It's part of you. It's what you will carry forward. And the other version says, the karma I create shapes the course of my life, but however I act, life always has difficulties. No one can control it all. So it's quite clear that not everything that happens to us is the result of our karma. So what does karma actually mean? Well, the word karma simply means action. And it means a particular type of action, not accidental action, but action that has intention behind it. So karma is intended action. And the Pali word for that is cetana. So what we do today affects how we will experience tomorrow. And what we have done in the past is how we are experiencing today. So that is in terms of our body, our speech, and our mind. And we make choices in every single moment. I don't think we always see this. We know when we make big choices. We know when we make choices that are very obvious. But actually, we're making choices in every single moment. We're making choices of body, speech, and mind. In other words, what our behaviour is, our external behaviour, what we say, and also what we think. And perhaps we imagine that what we think is very private and doesn't really have an effect. But actually, what we think has a very big effect. And that's described very clearly in the opening verses of the Dhammapada, of course. And a very simple version goes like this. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts and made up of our thoughts. If one speaks or acts with an evil thought, suffering follows, as the wheel follows the hoof of the beast that draws the wagon. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thought and made up of our thoughts. If one speaks or acts with a loving thought, happiness follows, like a shadow that never departs. So it's clear from those verses that, the choice is ours, but actually it's really important what we think. What we think does have a big effect. So why? Why is it so important that our body, speech and mind, and particularly the mind, I think, because it's hidden, and so we think that we can hide, basically. But our habits form very quickly. We are creatures, you could say, of habits. And we get trapped into persistent behaviours, just as animals do, just as other animals do. I mean, we too are an animal. But yes, as soon as we do something a few times, it can get a real grip on us. And it can often feel like it's out of our control, our behaviour. Maybe it's overeating. Maybe it's swearing. It can be all sorts of things. But if we look at what we're most ashamed of in ourselves, what we don't particularly like, there's usually habits in there. And of course we have very positive habits as well. And a very positive habit that we can focus on, of course, is meditation. So, yes, the word discipline isn't a very popular one, but actually, if we're going to practice and change our lives and change the way we think and the way we behave, it does require some discipline. It's so easy to want an easy life, to want to get through life as comfortably as we can without stretching ourselves. But I think nowadays more and more people, they wonder, what is this life all about? And that's why a lot of people turn to Buddhism, that they suspect that there's some teaching here that can really help them to be happier, to be calmer, to make the most of their lives. So there is a discipline aspect to it. And disciplining ourselves, it's often linked to renunciation of some sort. What is it that trips us up in life that we could give up some behaviour and improve our life? There often is something. So as some of you know, I occasionally have a year of no shopping, where I allow myself to buy only absolutely essential things and nothing else at all. And the first few months are usually quite easy, but actually after that it can get really tough. And it's because I've noticed that is one of my big distractions, as it is for many people, cheering oneself up by buying something, maybe something new to wear. But it can become habitual, especially nowadays when on the internet all you've got to do is press the button and you've bought something. So our lives are very drawn towards making it as comfortable and easy as possible, and that can mean that we don't really fulfill our potential. Do we look at our mobile phone too much? Do we watch too much television? Do we eat too much? Do we watch too many box sets from Netflix? So all these things are way that, they're good because they relax us, but actually they can easily get out of control. And once they do, it's very hard to rein ourselves in. It just becomes a way of life. So coming back to the term karma, there are different levels, you could say, or sorts of karma. And the strongest one is what is known as weighty karma. And weighty karma, you could say, is associated, firstly with things like murder, taking another being's life. That certainly is weighty karma. But the joy is that meditation is also weighty karma. If we meditate, if we learn to meditate and we take that meditation deeper into real meditation, where we develop not just calmness but insight and so on, then actually that is a weighty karma. And then there's death proximate karma. And that is the state of mind that we're in when we die. And it's really good to think of what might help at the time of death. You know, if we've got a spiritual practice, there's probably some aspect to that practice that we can apply as we're dying. If we've got no spiritual practice at all, we could think loving thoughts, we could wish other beings well, we could, we could say a prayer and hope that wherever we're going next, whatever's coming next, that it will be something pleasurable, something worthwhile. So whatever our life is, we can always prepare. And well, I think the benefit of having some sort of spiritual life is that it takes away a lot of the fear that we might have of dying. So the next one is habitual karma. And I've already talked about that. You know, we are creatures of habit, and what we have persistently spent our life doing, that will have an influence on what happens next. So there's another verse in the Dharma that says, "Not in the sky, nor in the sea, nor in a cave in the mountains can one escape one's deeds." And that really is describing karma. You know, there is no escape. And, well, as Buddhists, some Buddhists at least, believe in rebirth, and that the karmic consequences of this life will be carried over into the next life. But I'm going to assume that you don't have that belief. And if this even was the only life we were going to have, it would still be worth practicing, because karma, actually we don't have to look very deeply to see this. It has an effect pretty immediately. Let's say you go out one morning and you're in a foul mood, you know, and the world seems a dark and gloomy place. You don't smile at anyone, you don't make eye contact, and people start avoiding you. They certainly don't smile at you. And then you think the world is an even worse place. And perhaps you don't realise that actually, your demeanour, the look on your face, has kind of made everybody else keep their distance. I mean, that's just one tiny incident, and it works the other way too. You know, if you're relaxed and at ease and you can smile and make contact with people, they do the same. They really do. That reminds me of a little story. It was when I lived in Brighton, and I had my first flat, and I didn't have a telephone of any sort, not even a landline. And I used to go down to a phone box and make some phone calls about once a fortnight. And it was in the autumn and it was getting dark, and I was walking to the phone box and I dropped my purse. Well, I walked with crutches, so I couldn't pick it up actually. I couldn't pick up my purse. And there were a group of lads coming towards me, and they looked a bit of a gang, you know. And was I afraid? I don't think I was, but I was sort of a bit on edge, I would say, you know. Anyway, so I dropped my purse. So I thought, oh, what am I going to do here? So what I actually did was I looked one full in the face, you know. I caught his eye and I said, "Excuse me, I wonder if you could pick up my purse, please." So he did, and he handed it to me. And one of his mates jostled him and laughed and said, "God, I didn't think you were going to do that," you know. And, you know, I don't know what might have happened in that situation. Maybe they would have run off with the purse, and why not? You know, there it was lying there. But they didn't. And I think it was probably because I made contact with them. I treated them as a human being that was going to act with kindness, and they did. So yes, you know, we can have a very big influence. So I'm going to leave that there for today. Good to see you, and hope to see you again. Bye.